Hey family, if you clicked on this word is for you. And before we get started, I need you to hear me. Just because you're tired doesn't mean God has left you. Just because you're weak doesn't mean your faith is weak either. And just because you don't have the strength you normally have doesn't mean God has stopped working. And I know somebody needed to hear that because listen, this week I was under the weather, still trying to do what needed to be done and just push through it. But listen, eventually my body hit a wall. And when I say my body hit a wall, I mean I hit a wall. Let me tell you something. I wanted to pray, but I couldn't get the words out. Have you ever been there? You're not giving up on God. You're just exhausted and drained. And some of y'all know exactly what I'm talking about. You're sitting there on the edge of the bed or you're sitting in your car. Maybe you're sitting in the garage before you go in the house and you know you need God and you want to pray, but you're so worn down and weak, you don't even know what to do. And listen, that's where I was. So I reached for my phone and opened up my app, my Bible app, and I just let the word play. And while I was listening, something started happening. My strength started coming back. Not all at once, little by little. And that's when something hit me. We spend so much time talking about speaking to God that sometimes we forget the power of letting God speak to us. You know what I'm talking about? And let me say that again. We spend so much time talking about speaking to God that sometimes we forget the power of letting God speak to us. Hebrews 4:12 says, "The word of God is alive and active." Not alive only when you're strong, not alive only when you're excited, not alive only when you're on fire, alive, period. That means the word still works when you're tired. It still works when you're discouraged, and it still works when you're sick and your strength is gone. And all you can do is listen. So listen up. Before somebody thinks that's just my story, the Bible has been showing us this too. Look at Hannah. She was carrying so much hurt that when she prayed, her lips were moving, but no sound was coming out. And God still heard her. Look at Elijah, the prophet who called down fire from heaven. The same Elijah ended up exhausted, worn out, and ready to quit. And God didn't show up asking him for more effort. God met him right where he was in his weakness. All right, now look at the disciples. The storm hit, the fear took over, and they couldn't fix what was happening around them. So Jesus stepped in and spoke peace into the situation they had no control over. You see what I'm saying? So, do you see the pattern? Hannah couldn't get out. Elijah couldn't carry it anymore. And the disciples couldn't control it. And God met every one of them anyway. We keep acting like God can only move when we're at our strongest. Why do we keep acting like God can only hear us when the prayer is perfect? Why do we keep acting like we have to carry everything ourselves? Some of y'all been beating yourselves up because you haven't prayed like you used to. You haven't read like you used to. And you haven't had the energy like you used to have either. But what if it's not weak faith? What if you're just tired? What if you've been carrying things God never asked you to carry? What if God is trying to show you that his word still works even when you don't have the strength you used to have? Because I learned something laying there. The power was never in my voice. The power was always in his word. And I think that's a word for somebody right there. You've been trying to push your way through something. Push your way through the hurt, the disappointment, push your way through frustration and the waiting. Stop trying to force your way through everything. Stop thinking you have to carry everything by yourself. You know, get into the word and stay there. Let God do what God can do. Because some things are not going to break because you push harder. Some things are going to break because you stayed in God's presence long enough for his word to start working on you. You know, that's what happened to me. I didn't come out of sickness with some deep revelation. I got up with strength. That's what happened. And somebody listening right now needs strength. You know, maybe the answer isn't talking anymore. Maybe the answer is sitting in the word long enough to receive what God is trying to pour into you. Because hear me and hear me clearly, okay? You are not losing your faith. You're tired. And God knows the difference. God knows exactly where you are. And if his word can reach me when I was so weak I couldn't even talk or stand, you know, his word can reach you too. So stop measuring God's presence by how strong you feel. Stop measuring God's presence by how much energy you have. Stop measuring God's presence by whether you can pray 30 minutes a day or not. You know, some faith looks like opening up that Bible app and pressing play. You know, some faith looks like staying still long enough to receive. Some faith looks like letting the word carry you until your strength comes back. And if that's where you are today, stay in the word and in his presence. Stay there longer than you normally would because God is still speaking. God is still working. And God is still strengthening his people, even in their weakest moments. All right, family, I want to say thank y'all. Thank y'all for chiming in. Thank you for clicking on this video and bearing with me. I appreciate every single one of y'all that stayed, listened, and been rocking with me all the way through. And I don't take that for granted, okay? So if this has blessed you, share it with somebody that might need it. I appreciate y'all. So listen, keep your head up, your hands up, and let it resonate.